What is a direct line of sight? What does that mean in line center location of the system? You see the energy line interactions, how it changes position lines to highest interference. It formulates, it correlates and calculates lines in digital frame position location interaction, right? That's all in the calculation. But it changes everything I say. And I do it all lines that communicates the highest interference. The position location is to understand how to really formulate the line communications to your VR systems through your Earth and location of your space. So you say one thing, one says another says one set location of frame correlation setting and attractions. So when you start looking at your phone, yes, it is a phone, but it's also in its VR of something else. It has to be because there's a direct and redirect signal. So that communicates lines of its own system. You understand your Earth and you understand the powers of your space set locations. So when you're looking at your phone, you're looking at a phone, but also in the VR system, it's also something else. It's very important to understand that. Then you have a better balance with your system, right? You don't see things through a thermos, you know what it is in its VR system. That's the direct and a redirect signal through all levels. That puts everything in a direct line of sight in set locations, right? What is system track location new settings? What do you see information? What is this? What is this? What is it? What do you see in the center? A bell. Just a plain old bell. And what happens when I spin it? What do you see? All right? What do you see on the other side? Location. Everything's dimension, guys. Everything's dimension. Okay? See, the energy line opens the track location lines at code waving. Code waving cycles inside location changes everything information lines to screens. It directs lines and configuration lines of faces, right? Changes all communication to its settings, attractions all through light. See? Everything is light, everything is travel. Okay, as I've shown you how powerful it is in light communication settings. So I'm showing you geographical maps of the worlds. Everything you see is a different information location in the graph. See? What is that in light condition setting? What is this in track location to a system? Every time I change it, it's changing its mapping sequence, location of its world system, all through clocking. Clocking, people. Clocking, right? See? Now you have to go inside to understand everything. Right? It's very powerful when you start recognizing what it is in attractions. Right? You spin it around, you understand travel, right? But it's all through light, right? You're traveling through light. It formulates, it simulates, it coordinates longitude and latitude, gets you in a position lines of attraction, and all set locations. Right? See what happens when you get high line connection? It comes out correlation as a track interference, the spinning, the modulation screens, and all adaptation of surface. So, very powerful when it spins very fast, right? But I just wanted to show you track line communication, what it is through lights, and how you see everything in face recognition, right? I just wanted to show you. Right, look at that, look at that. Look at inside. Look at the structure, look at the design. Everything has its own VR system, guys. See? Look at that. Isn't that amazing? When you bring it up close, just look in the center operation of its clocking system. Very powerful. Look at that. Look at the dimensions in space, all through hologram. Look at that, people. Isn't that incredible? Everything has a face recognition, insight, correlations, and track lines, so its own identity, of its own body, of its own set location. Isn't that incredible? See that? See how it's identifying its system, set location, its own calculation? All through clocking. Right? So imagine what happens when you spin it. Imagine what happens when you spin the light. Right? It changes spectrums, the colorations of light, the screens, adaptation lines of surface, and track location. All through set lines inside calculation. See, it's amazing what you see inside connections of light. When you spin it, it's circulating, it's rotating its own setting, set location, its own line condition of travel. Right? So I wanted to show you how powerful it is, how everything is its formation of its own intelligence, guys. Getting direct line signal and all communicates to its position puts everything in perspective, how you see things in set location. Right? How you see things inside location. How you see things inside location. Okay. Totally different operation, right? So getting that position puts everything in calculations all through clocking. So we're going to go into table of core lines of calculations, screen lines, and direct signals. Now, how to formulate and simulate through that line calculation setting, just to show you what a levitating location system. Travel point lines of graphs and correlation lines of attractions. Welcome everyone. This is generalized space-time, getting new track locations, how to understand location settings, to table of core, how to go back in time. Your track communication lines has to have a direct signal. To understand that position location high system, you have to understand everything from inside correlations, upline calculations, up close, and all track location of provision. What it is inside location of this attractions. That's the hologram. Okay? All right. Now, let's go through the central lines of clockings, 3-track line provision lines of cycles, and line condition setting. Program lines of 1, 2, and lines of 3, 4, and 4 lines of 6, lines of 8. Process communications of Y lines, sets communication, each line rotation, and travels. Direct line centers, each line is center correlation lines of attractions. Direct lines, modification lines of each line calculations, 8-line rotation surface and track location. Direct calculation line interference into pi generation screens. Modified the high correlation lines of ground line, circle line, center interference, and flux capacitor applications. Ground centers, powers, correlation lines, attractions, high set position calculation, modification line, set location. Direct calculation lines and ground lines, high center interference, and track location line setting, high interference, location setting, position operation. Right? The bell that you saw. Hoo-ah. See, all this is what you saw through this, through light. Everything is intelligence, guys. Everything is information. But you have to see it up close to understand everything in calculation of what it is and traction inside calculations. That's where things get really, really interesting, and all through modification. You got to see it up really close. But I'd show you the bell right at the very beginning, right? So that puts everything in settings in perspective. Know exactly how many times it went through cycles and correlation setting back in time. Triangulation line conditions, high position its program, and direct signals. It gets all calculated, modified, and line conditions of circles. Correlate the high and center interference of high position location calculations. Earth line, rotation surface, and line condition setting. Graph calculation lines of 3 triangulation lines, split lines, anomaly calculation lines, high center interference, high position of its program. Sets communication 1 setting, 2 track locations, right? Now, this is crossing through patterns. That's what's happening, right? So you have a dimensional line split that rotates the surface in position of travels and rotate, calculate, modify line direct signals, location of sonar and traction. All right? That's what's going to happen on Friday. Splits communication lines of the eye line. See the eye line division coming in track location, windows of the solar and location setting. That's what's going to have its applications. Split lines anomaly, the earth line rotation surface. 1 splits lines of correlation. Sets lines and calculations. Species will be in track lines, high center interference, and future of its past. And team will be in a position of the future of its now set locations and calculation. That's how it's going to be set. Split the anomalies in 2 patterns. So that puts lines in 1 line signal and line position line each line, screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. That position lines it position location setting and calculation. Okay. Now the data screen line hides the high lines of a box frame line screen location to its setting. It opens up cycles along with line and rotation surface in a planetary surface and track location that puts everything into the VR set location of travel. Okay. That's all in the central line communication setting, high interference, and position travels. Now, if I get a direct line signal, what I change through intention is all through this information. All up close. All up close, right? You've seen the same information of what you've seen through traction, okay? It's your intention through the mind. It's the conception that puts everything locked in frame, right? So Friday communication puts everything line signal. The conversion lines of its earth line rotation comes in center lines of volume. We've got 2 line rotation cycles. So we got an earth tone in positional platitude and line kingdom setting all calculations. Split lines anomaly this way in tractions. Now direct signals into center lines of grounds and center lines of space and track location. Direct lines of 2 tubing, that's where the position lines comes 1 signal lines of modification. All right, so once you get into that correlation lines of tractions, you come into this setting, okay, into out of box into mainframe. All right, so the mainframe comes in its own flux into a 3 triangulation split lines and high center interference. Trifactors over medium, right? Now, direct lines of correlation lines of high center interference. The earth comes in tractions, so it's communication lines of center. So it's communication lines of center and track locations, right? 2 earths, right? Now we get the blue line, which is the outline surface, and set positions. All laws of correlation setting attractions. Sets position lines of calculations high interference. Okay, future past, future now. All right. So we go through the ground line, which is the outline cycle. Sets correlation lines of track location system that puts lines of barometers, thermometers, and line calculation of thermal in line condition setting to the position of its project. Project line communication lines over line is communication setting. Then we set up the communication lines, center core system, setting calculation lines, side track line positions, all calculate modified, indirect line signals, and line communication to its position. Right? It's planetary setting. And we do the same thing, the opposite cycle. In cycles, in a spectrum, and correlation. Track location to a setting. That's how it's going to be on Friday, right? All right, so we go through the grain line cycles. We overcast the correlation, setting direct lines of panels and earth line rotation surface and traction. It opens all communication line high center interference at position calculations. So we go through the spectrum coloration line screen and direct lines of signal and application. Now we go with the line calculation setting. We set up the tubing into infinity 8 line rotation surface and track location. All right, so that 1 direct line signals in platforms of A, in platforms of B, and platforms of line setting and track location, line set location of center of operation. Okay. Then we come in and line calculations lines of security is a 2, 2, 2, 3 track line provisions. Second is line interference Cyclops. Carefully modified in split lines anomaly and a 4 track line communication. Direct lines of signals color the line screen into red. Security lines, correlation, highest interference. Error code line communication setting to track lines. Sets law communication lines setting high interference. Transits, line condition setting, inhibited line rotation centers into habitation zones of correlation lines attraction. Set puts airline communication settings, airline rotation interference, and 404 a track location. Directs modification 1 cycles, 1 split lines anomaly, and center line communication setting of all program set location of center calculation. Okay, all on Friday. So the center core system of the Earth is going to drop to the surface, okay, into 3 triangulation split lines of anomaly and set calculations. Ground setting and calculation lines of the Earth line rotates the blue plasma screen, sets correlation track lines in a high line rotation surface and space lines of modulation screen lines adaptation in its flux in line center in position of trial correlation. Okay, sets communication settings in all of us. Ground center, crop circle, line center, operation line surface, line connection setting to its intelligence information screen lines adaptation system. Future becomes the past, the future becomes the now in traction. Intelligence. Okay, that's what's going to happen on Friday. All right. Can you guys understand the center line communication system is understand location of its flux? Let's go through blue line centers. Remember, guys, you don't just use pencil marks or correlation lines, illumination, graph calculation settings. You can use colorations of pathogens and line singers and line screens. Sets line wire, position lines of 1 box location, Triangulation of 2 3-line rotations and 2 1-line rotations, 4 lines of 5 lines, 6 lines of 1, and track location of 3, and positional location of 1, and 3 lines center location of 4. Sites communication setting and travel point graphs. Calculation of 5-line generation screen locations. 1 inhibitor, 1 setting, 3-line tractions, 4-line and 5 location settings, and 1 set location of 4 lines. Correct lines of 2, track location of 3 settings. Setting communication lines of the Y line acts lines high center interference into prodigal system into 4-line provision lines of data that processes communication lines of Y factor. Position lines is program. 1 indicates 1 line, sets lines and 1 flat surface interaction. Directs modification 1 symbol, 1 line rotation, 1 correlation lines of 3 tractions. Directs crosses line signals, 1 line rotation surface into pi a generation. Sets communication line setting all of the solar sail and track location. It disappeared. Went too fast. And track location. All right, so we symbolize the graph calculation setting. We open all signals. Modificate the system and travel correlation. Okay, very powerful calculations. Showing you exactly how you see a communication lines of a bell and track location. Right, instead of calculations. See the half moon in set lines? See it? See the half moon? See the correlation? What is that in track line? Same thing, right? See how it sets lines of communication. That starts out calculation, modification, line setting. It's all through like track location, right? There you go. Now, understand that line communication lines. The Y line sets lines of communication lines to high interference. That fluxes communication line system out of the correlation, line rotation cycles, and generation screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. Position is progress. Now, the progression lines has a 2-track line provision. Opens all signals, open correlation lines, and flux the correlation lines of track lines and high center inhibitors and line rotation centers. Position of the process correlates the track centers. Puts lines of 2-line and 1 cycle, 1-line rotation surface. Triangulate the spot line centers and correlation lines of traction set locations. Looking at this through equation, you'll see the same thing in equation. See? See? You see the solar sail? You see how it's connecting to this, to this? That's the balance. So understanding the direct line signal and lines of its earth in position to its VR system through light. Okay? Light, guys, light. Everything is traveled through light, the signals. Everything is a signal. Everything is a graph. Everything is a correlation. Everything is a travel. In all communication transposition is program. Okay, see? Once you start understanding recognition time sequence, everything comes information and graph calculations. Right. Oh, we got gold. There we go. There's the black hole. There's the yin and yang. You see it? See the yin and yang? See the portal? See how the connections of the sundial and the position them? See the portal? See the track divisions? See the black hole? Inside the correlation that is clocking system of the globe? You see how powerful that is when you see centric correlations and track interference? That's position locations. You guys have to identifications. How you see a black hole inside a globe. There it is. Look. There it is. Boom. Okay. See the communication? How they connect with each other? Ooh-ah. So it's pretty wild when you see the direct lines of partnership and its relation of its collaboration. It's amazing how it communicates through its black hole. Okay, it's incredible when you start recognizing all levels of communication and all central line connections, right? Scanning now, right? So I just wanted to show you how powerful it is when you start recognizing everything in portal communication. See? Communication. Everything is direct lines of communication. So you see that, then you see the solar sail. You saw the black hole all through this. Very powerful, isn't it? That's the collaboration, all through a picture frame. But it's intelligence information. Connecting with the hand line, high center interference, left line rotations, and position location to my watch correlation line tractions, holding line signals in position to correlation lines of north line cycle, 4-line split lines of anomaly of 4-track line communications. All program settings to the grounds, powers, and position of its portal, and calculation the lines of its black hole interaction. Done by equation. So that's why I wanted to show you what you can see through observation. Everything's communication, guys. Everything is communication. Everything's communication. It's incredible when you start identifying everything inside. You're inside. This is inside. It's what you see inside of this. Okay? That's what makes it phenomenal. All right, getting that direct line signal. We get a platitude screen line that adaptates the surface communication system. We come into the line communication setting. Setting lines of communication setting, position of its program, and direct signals. Then we course the communication setting and line calculation setting and split lines with a 3-track line provision, and we center court its setting calculation. And again, we bring this in the equation. We see this through light tractions, right? Okay. It's amazing when you see the line communication travels. Points, lines its graph, starts recognizing the time sequence. Let's overline the communication setting of its program. Let's intercorrelate the track interference. Okay, there we go. As a center course system, a balance, like signal tractions and direction, all through center calculation. All right. There it is. Boom. Okay. So this is just showing you exactly what you see next in tractions, right? This is a direct line panel and correlations of light. So it knows exactly where it is in line position lines to high calculation of travel applications in its VR system. Okay. Try to identify what it is in line communication to its setting location to its VR line rotation surface. It opens all track line calculation setting, all levels of its VR location, and track line connections of clocking. Clocking and rotation surface and track line provision. Center lines its communication all through light tractions and direction. See? All through center core. Setting direct line signals, planetary surface, track line provision lines, sets communication center interference, and high position programs. All right, so I'm going through light settings, scan charges, direct lines of panels, line interference and line conditions, routers and routers, and line communication of its position. So it's interesting how we start identifying everything inside calculations. More lines of communication programs, its line center location of clockings. All through calculations, right? So this is trying to identify this now. And once it understands it through light, you'll see it through traction. All through calculations. Now what's going on? You know, why are you doing this? What's happening here? Oh, where did it go? Where did it go? It's inside here. You see what I did? I took the picture and put it inside here. Okay, it's inside the light now. All through graph, all through screen, all through traction, all through light. Okay? So I took the picture into the globe. So now, when you look inside, in position, it's there in traction. See? You see the signature screens? You see it? You see it inside location? It's there, right? See the illumination graph correlate? Oh, we got a. Now let's go through the center bottom. Then you can see the light tractions. Okay? See how amazing that is in traffic? Oh, there's a Stargate. Open through signal, open through location. All through location center. Look what came back in set line connections. All through programming. So, collaboration is everything, isn't it? All through a globe. Right? Oh, look at that. It's my face. You see my face now? Because it's showing front view of me. It's showing my face. See? all through light. All right, show everything up close, guys. That's how this works. Everything's inside, all through light. Everything's a hologram. Everything's a hologram. Okay. Now, provision lines of cycles really sets the tone. Getting correlation lines at high center interference, we got a flat line screen, alpha line, tone lines, green line, adaptation lines, and center core system, and data formation lines in one box center, into formation ground lines across location setting. Okay, look at that, cross location, right? Sets one's deviation path into fractus correlation lines of pi. Position lines of attractions, right? Center core setting, high center interference. Sets communication lines of light and track location provision. And calculations. X marks the spot. Okay? Setting positional location is the center line that opens all signals in line communication setting to its track location of its bell. Put the bell in track lines, calculation screen lines, puts everything back in force communication setting and track correlation and track calculations. Directing through modification. Okay? If you look really close, you can see the planetary surface line. See, it's spinning on line communication setting into its location system through light traction. Now we bring it up close. You can see the light screens and high center interference inside location of the system. Right? See the structural line, division line. Rotate the surface, wall connectors, screen lines, adaptation lines, and surface locations, and track calculation. And there it is. Okay. So everything is a collaboration, guys. Okay, once we understand how to direct the signals, the modification lines of the earth line, tone line, screen interference, sets lines of communication to a lot more easier lines of formats that puts lines of high interference in box frames into triangulation lines equals lines of correlation lines, flux capacitor communication settings equals lines of high center interference, setting mass into calculation lines and position lines, putting the square into levels of flux in travel correlation lines of high calculation. Okay. All right. So that's a 4 lines of anomaly in a 4-box frame. Split lines of correlation setting into 43 tractions in set location. E line centers 4 equals lines of E. Then we go into mass. Then we go into calculations. Then we backline screen lines of mass, velocity, volume, and line condition setting into acceleration. And we go into Mach and calculation screen. Set communication lines on 4 line settings. Triangulation of 4 3-line centers of vacuum, velocity, volume, and line condition setting. Puts an acceleration line condition setting to 1-box frame and center point correlation and attraction. Okay. All right. Getting direct line signals of panels is really understand how to use the formation lines of its earth line. Correlation lines of earth. Okay. Flux capacitor triangulate line condition setting equals lines of correlations equals lines. E equals lines of E equals lines of E equals lines of F equals lines of E equals lines of F equals lines in high calculation setting, equals lines of DX and line connections high position is program. Now we put a flux line rotation line screen, sets communication lines of travel. Okay. Now you should be able to see the flux inside location. It's inside, right? You see the flux? See it? It's showing you, right? It's showing its equation, how it's all set up in its own setting. This sets up its own algorithm, guys. Look. Look at that. Sets its own equation. Look at that, all through cobwebbing, all through code weaving. Look at that. Look how powerful it is in track location. All through web line condition setting to its own network system. All through a Y-line screen. Setting track lines and energetic dome lines is to understand the center core system, how it splits lines like a sprinkler. This is what the position track line was coming in line communication setting and travel and point craft communication on the highways in position to set location line communication setting to near links and travel and correlation lines of traction. Okay, so this is this. This itself is its own formula of its equation, but its own levels of its own intelligence. It can show you different lines of mappings all through lights. Right? Look at the car. Look at the car. Look at the car inside the globe. It's a hologram, right? You see the car? Isn't it? But you have to identify yourself inside and all levels of operation first. It's the how, not the why. The why sets line communication lines of confusion. The position lines of track line is the how everything is operating inside of you. Then it becomes the what, the where, the why, the when, the who. Okay? And all communication and setting opens all track locations into flux capacitors, into 3-track line communication of compressors, in line direct signals, in position calculations, earth line, tone line, screen lines, operation line calculation setting, in all formation system, and travel correlation lines and high set locations, in track location. Intelligence. It disappeared. Intelligence. Okay. Now, if I put this in face recognition setting, look what happens in tractions. Look inside. What do we have? What do we see? What do we see? We see location grid all through light. We see a little black hole. Okay. Directing lights this way, or lights location this way. Direction this way, redirect this way. Direct this way, redirect, redirect. Direct this way, redirect. Right? But you're always going to see the face recognition of settings of travel correlation, all through traction, inside calculation. Okay? Routers and routers and line condition settings and all formation screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. Scan operation line screen highest location setting and travel. Points lines is graph communication to a system, all through track location. Okay? And so it's important to understand how to use this in all provision. Okay, so you have to really get in that correlation lines of its earth. Getting that position here and getting that position here is the split of anomaly. Sets line connections this way and track location of this way. Sets communication of 2 lines of this way and tractions. Opens on the earth line in position of space line correlation set location. Sets communication line setting all levels of operation surface. Sets communication line high calculation setting to all operation of its setting. Sets position location system in all levels of travel. Sets communication lines into all levels of travel in correlation setting. Sets communication lines in set location of grounds. Sets communication of flux in line communication setting into its electrical system of intelligence. Boom. All through track location of light. Okay. So it's really interesting when you start to identify everything inside. Look at that. Everything's a hologram, guys. Oh, looks like we're going to see a black hole. Black hole's coming in. There it is. There's a black hole. Okay. Just wanted to show you how powerful it is when you see inside a globe. See its formation of its intelligence. How powerful it is to actually see inside of its operation. How it comes into its own formation of its own nothingness and track location. It doesn't get any more powerful than that, guys. It really doesn't. All through lines and high calculation system of its clocking system. Okay. It's clocking system, right? Powerful, isn't it? You really understand more levels of its intelligence inside through its own body, of its own vessel, of its own communication system. There's the pie. Here's the graph. There's the flux. And there's the portal. Okay. Isn't that amazing? I wanted to show you what you can see through a globe. It doesn't get any better than that, right? So you really are never alone, are you? When you identify everything up close, all through light. So what you see through light is amazing because it opens all levels of possibilities of you. You can also do this in tractions, right? And you can see everything that you want to see. Right? It's like a crystal ball because that's basically what it is. It's giving you information through intent. I'm seeing the central system. I'm seeing the sun and violet lines, galaxy screen lines, adaptation lines of surface, all through a line connection setting to travel. Oh, we got a light signal screen. See? Looking through the eyes of the windows of the soul. Of this. It's that location. Right? Pretty amazing, isn't it? All right. Amazing how you saw that black hole, right? Getting in position location is really to understand how it formulates your settings of SIM, all through intelligence formation. Right? All right, so core track lines, indirect signals. Let's get into modification lines in brackets. Zero correlation lines of 2 bracket communications. 1 center lines, 1 box, 1 triangulation, 1 line, flat line, 1 alpha, 1 delta, and 1 theta in rotation. Take 0 lines, correlating lines equal lines of 1, and track location lines equal lines, location lines of 2. Sets communication lines of high center interference of 3, and line condition setting of position arrow, and calculation arrow communication setting. Process communication lines of 0 correlation is the platform correlation lines of track location of center. Sets position lines of calculation into triangulation line communication setting to open all signals and modification screen lines adaptation. Split lines anomaly into 4-line provision in cycles correlation. Right? Opens all signals into 1 split lines cross location. Towers of communication lines, 2 pyramids, and a 4-line split lines anomaly into 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 set location. Sets communication lines of center lines of operation line surface and set location of calculation. All right. All right. So we go through platforms of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sets communication lines of 5, 6, 7, and 8 centers. Cross-line signals into platforms of 1 traction into 2 settings. Opens all signals, kinetic C1000s on 2 platforms of communication. Tracks and communication line settings, all levels of operation lines of surface. Platitudes 1 settings into 2-track revision. Crosses line signals in a line center location to 2-track revision. Cross line centers into 1, 2, 3, and 4 set locations. Right? This is all in the VR settings, guys. Right? So as long as you understand the Earth that you're on in your setting, you don't see it through perception. Because the Earth that you're on is the hologram of you. That is you through center operation of light and track location, inside connections of everything. Inside of light, guys. Inside of light. Everything is inside. Everything is inside of its own intelligence. Okay? So getting in communication of that settings puts everything back in tractions. Secured line device lines, high center interference, cyclops and calculation lines of Cyclops. Calculate lines of high center interference and position location settings. Story reference, just a reference, core track interference, and calculations of David and Goliath. Sets of flux, capacitor, line, screen, high center location to its measure and back in time. Okay. So you got a 15 track locations. Have fun. Sending core settings, high travel lane, point graphs, communication lines of screen. Yeah, it's all set up. So our countdown is 15 line screens, direct signal modification system, puts you in levels of track locations. Okay, so we'll go through the center graph calculation in one setting, 2 patterns, and 3 line rotation graph calculations on the opposite line screen adaptation lines of surface. So what you have to understand, it's pretty simple when you see this and you see this, you can see the other side, right? It's really interesting. We see the correlation lines of attractions, but it sets position lines to its VR system locations, right? It's trying to read the graph, try to extend the central system. So if you look at the black line screen lines adaptation, you can see the ridges, right? Those are divots. Bring it in closer, bring it in closer, bring it in closer, right? All right, those are divot line screens. Transits lines communication has a 1 cycle, 1 surface, and 1 rotation center. Calculation lines of 4 platforms and line condition setting to a tube line rotation. Travel course lines crosses line symbols and track line condition setting. There's all signal lines of ground centers into platforms in line condition setting and a 45 split lines of anomaly and track location. Travel coordination line of the sun and the moon comes in signals in line rotation centers and all communication to its position of all programs set location. Okay. Everything is an open window. Okay. When you get a position lines of track line condition setting and you just open up a black hole and like this in position and you flash it in light, it just opens all signals of modification, right? It opens all signals of modification and its traction, right? See the ground? So it's just going through graph screens. Travel point graph communication and setting. Indicates line screens, high center interference, and position programs. All right. So I'm just showing you how powerful it is what you see through light. How light travels to anything through graph calculation, setting attraction locations. It's all identification, guys. That's all it is. It formulates the main frames of track location lines and high center split lines across location setting, cross lines. Let's go line communications in Fibonacci line screen interference equals lines of X line rotations into line conditions of main frame. So this is this. So a formula equation is everything through calculations, right? It gets a direct signal to understand what you're doing through your own formation grounds and calculations. But once you identify it, let's go through 40 track location and 2 atom line settings into, let's go to 50. Okay, the sequence lines, correlation lines back in time. Cancels out. Direct lines of panels, correlation lines of track location and provision. All right, so add lines, of course, and now we have 43. That changes line calculation, high center interference. Wait till it gets to 10. Sets communication setting to travel. There it is in traction. Direct calculation lines of 10 tractions equals lines of flux. Now, because it's the male cycle, it's box, location, triangulation. Equals lines, correlation lines. You put the box and triangulation together. Comes in calculation of its flux in reaction, location, out of reaction to response. So getting that position line to centers, once you send the box frame, the main frame's at 43, it changes the communication lines of its program of its platforms in 1 line setting, in platforms of 2, 3, and 4 set location, in the opposite direction cycles, direct and redirect line connection setting to its position of the process. Position its platforms line center X2000 comes in tractions, comes line setting into ground center, dock the system and calculations in 1, 2, 3, 4 set locations. Okay, all through track locations. All right. So you have to understand how to use your triangulation line screens and direct lines modification in your panels. Like I said, you get a 4-box location and a triangulation. So it equals lines of 43. You got into that before, right? Well, it's all about understanding the 4 and 4 zeros. Let's start there, binary, right? And 3 split lines of anomaly. There it is in tractions, right? Direct and redirect, right? So it's really interesting that one goes this way and one goes that way, direct and redirect right away, right? So that puts the positions together that brings it in position to its flux, that comes together, guys, and coordinates its communication to its light bulb attraction, comes together. Then you center line the communication of past, present, and its future in set location of center correlation. Brings it together, turns it into a light bulb. So understanding that through the Earth line rotates the surface and track location line connected setting to one tether in a 3-track lines of a pyramid screen line. That opens all signals and correlation lines attractions into powers of generation screen lines, adaptation surface, and line connection setting in calculation. Process communication line center is electrical line communications. If I change the green line cycles in 3-line communication, it sets its tone. According to the calculation color, the greens sets position at all levels, transformation screen lines, adaptation. Same colors, 4 lines of 3, but we're in an 8-track line rotation. That puts lines of correlation setting to 8 lines of setting in center core system, 8 tractions. 8 divisions, 8 panels, and 8 lines surface into data formation screen lines adaptation. So what you understand, the center operation of U is the light. It's the flux capacitor, okay, and understand the connection. So the process of communication is the cortex of design. How the shape is nothing but a mechanism. So your actual throat works up to the flux capacitor. Okay, that's how it works. So it's the core that wraps around the throat and goes up and stops here and it goes here to here, right? And triangulation's over here and triangulation's over here, and everything line connects to its computer of its operation system and track location. Okay, all through computer operation lines, the CGI and line connection setting into all levels. Process communication lines to the VR system, okay, is the systematic lines of operation line calculation setting. The ground operations of your computer operation lines and high interference, your digital information screen lines, but understanding how it comes into its throat and how the actual face is its light bulb. That's the face recognition configuration. And that's how intelligence sees everybody in track locations, right? So as a router and router, in that position of its program, puts all communication settings as travels. Point lines of graphs, that's that line communication system. This is what it is in traction, right? Now, once you understand that, then you understand this, the platforms. You understand the platforms. You understand the platforms of this application of the body. How it comes in the shoulders, in communication to its position of its program. Then you understand the central lines of past, then the present, and its future set location. Then you understand the center correlation setting into your I division locations. Track communication lines at center line communication setting, and track location, which is line set locations, to your portals of communication setting. That's how it's set up. Okay. All right. Platitudes 1, 2, and 3 and 4 track location travel. Point lines of graph communication lines opens all signals and line connection setting and all line communications to another communication lines of face recognition. All formation, all 3 tractions. Face recognition, face recognition, face recognition. Okay. But it's pretty interesting how you guys are connected to your face. So try to understand the stepping here of layers, stepping here's of layers, and all the way down to your feet, because that's all it is. And light and tractions, crystal lines and correlation lines of track locations. Crystalline, anticarrier correlations, calculation modified. Getting into antimantle, antimantium, okay? Getting line condition setting to Excalibur, right? X lines, high center interference, and position travel lines. Coordinate track interference. Remember Wolverine and line communicates Helter Skelter? Well, that puts lines of correlation setting track lines into metal interface. That puts all communication setting and position metrics. Metric meters and scales, balance correlation lines, highest application system and travel. In line communication setting to your system, and how you guys are set up in line connection setting to its position of its program, all through modification. So now you understand the process of this all works. So this signifies the correlation attractions. And this is how it goes in line condition setting. Okay? Now, once you understand that, that's the Earth line rotation and ground lines of surface and the 3 lines of platform. Okay? Setting communication lines of platforms 1, 2, and 3 sets position of travels. Ground lines, high center interference, is center correlation lines of track location. That's the power generator, right? Getting communication lines is a location grid and set position that locates its security line defense in set location. All right? Now open up that line communication, opens up its portal, opens up its Stargate, and opens up its star mapping sequence and line communication setting of face recognition of configuration. It disappeared. All right, so I'm showing you how fast it is where it disappears in track location. You got to catch it. Intelligence, right there. Boom. See? There it is. There's the intelligence. You see it? Okay. Flash of communication is setting to travels. Ground centers, high interference, high position program locations, all through light tractions. Getting communication screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. And there is. There's the face recognition. Okay? Everything is a collaboration. You got to get balanced with that. Everything you touch is a collaboration. So once you understand that, everything comes in fruition of light and platitudes and lines of correlation, lines of attractions into all signatures in location settings that face recognition. Okay? Then the space lines of timeline comes to you and all formation lines of this portal and line communication setting all communication. Okay? Then you have the center core lines of the ground that changes the frequency lines, changes all communication setting position of its program. And then you come into space modulation screen because you have to have in and out and audio line screens of highest interference when you're in track location or all through modification, right? So it's very powerful how this is all set up in your correlation setting and attractions, guys, all through your VR systems. But really start identifying you, like really start understanding where you can see anything information inside calculations and what it is in track locations. Everything is set in calculation. Everything is set. Everything is in its own system of its own calculation. All right. Everything is its own formation of its own intelligence, guys. It's amazing when you see it in its own hologram. Okay? That's it. We're done. So I just wanted to show you the energy collaboration, how it works with all communication and clockings. So it's directing your signals, how to use it through calculation space modulations and screens, or adaptations of your Earth, how it puts all communication in your settings, how it splits lines its anomalies and becomes its own formation locations back to its nothingness. When I say back, it's already there in attractions, right? So you have to understand how this all works, putting yourself in your position to your system already in the VR setting. But you have to identify everything inside connections of everything else up close. That's the only way you understand anything of you information. That's how you communicate with everything, and everything communicates with you all through clockings. Okay? Powerful, isn't it, when you saw the portal and you saw the black hole? You saw the black hole, right? All through a globe of a globe. Globe of a clocking system. You saw the portal. Look at the light. Look at the light. It's its own system inside. Oh, there's intelligence. There's the face. There's the face right there. That's the configuration of the face, of its intelligence, of its nothingness, of its awareness, of its consciousness. Hello, and it's smiling. It's showing you a smile. Now it's a happy smile. Oh, look at that. There's a smile coming in. See how it changes? All through frequency. All right. See you guys in 5.